sports.
We are the Fourth. We are the Fourth.
Last night, the Rays seemed as if they were on the brink of another tough defeat. But the Brazilian club battled back, scoring 3 runs in the 8th, keyed by Tim Beckham's 2-run single, as Tampa Bay went on to defeat the Orioles 3-1. Tonight, right-hander Erasmo Ramirez goes to the hill, looking to continue his recent string of success. Fans gathering at Tropicana Field tonight for the middle game of this 3-game series as the Rays again play host to the Baltimore Orioles. Rays winners last night 3-1, and with that victory, they are in a second-place tie in the American League East. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to an evening of Rays baseball with Brian Anderson, Dwayne Stats. Great to have you aboard. Well, a big victory for the Rays last night, and tonight they will send Erasmo Ramirez to the hill. If you remove the first 2 outings he had with the Rays, this guy is the most under-the-radar success story in maybe all of Major League Baseball.
And I'll do you one better. I will say right now that he is the happiest, most confident starting pitcher in Major League Baseball right now, and with good reason. If you go back over his last 9 starts, pretty good sample size, look at the numbers. Just look at the ERA. I mean, in 8 of the 9 starts, he's either given up 1 earned run or 0 earned runs, and he's done it by attacking the zone early with the fastball. That sets everything else up. We've seen the changeup become part of the plan, the sweeping slider, and even in that last start against the Blue Jays, the slow curve to put guys away. Right now, he's got 4 pitches, and they're all working very well.
And here's the pitching matchup. You can see Ramirez on the 30th of May in Baltimore picking up a victory, going 7 shutout innings, allowing 3 hits. And Miguel Gonzalez for the Baltimore Orioles, tough against the Rays, 3 starts. They've beaten him once. He's 1-1. But look at the earned run average, 0.84. So a great matchup here tonight in the middle game of the series. Last night, the Rays grabbed that lead 3-1. Jake McGee closed it out, continuing his scoreless streak. Rich Hollenberg will take a look at that streak when we return.
Phillies and the Orioles, game 2 of a 3-game series from Tropicana Field. In addition to baseball, a big movie released this weekend called Southpaw, starring Academy Award nominee Jake Gyllenhaal. Well, follow me on this because the Rays have their own southpaw named Jake, and of course that is reliever Jake McGee, and what he is doing right now is dominating opposing hitting. In our Toyota trend, you can see Jake is now tied for second on the Rays' all-time scoreless appearance streak, throwing his 21st straight goose egg last night. Overall this season, 24 of his 25 appearances have been scoreless, and he's third in Major League Baseball in strikeout to walk ratio. Pitching coach Jim Hickey spoke a short time ago about McGee's performance.
Him getting comfortable, him being able to go back-to-back, even to more than 3 outs, multiple innings at a time, coming back from the surgery. But the fastball is explosive, and you can just see when he needs it, all of a sudden it's 97, 98, even 99 miles an hour. When he comes out, starting the inning, it's 93, 94. And when he really needs it, he reaches back and makes that thing really, really take off. And also, he's thrown some very legitimate curveballs in there, which has even been a little bit of a surprise for me. But the performance overall is not a surprise. It's just what we've become accustomed to from him.
Not a one-pitch wonder anymore is Jake McGee. Last time he gave up a run, 1 day shy of 2 months ago, May 26th. And the Rays are 18-7 when McGee gets the call from the bullpen. Erasmo Ramirez gets the call with the ball. Under 3 minutes to go to first pitch. Dwayne and B.A. with the call right after this.
Tonight, the Rays will send Erasmo Ramirez, the 25-year-old right-hander, to the mound in search of their 50th win of the year. Coming in at the break-even mark, 49-49. And Erasmo Ramirez out there with a record of 8-3. Here's the lineup he will face, presented by your Southern Ford dealers. David Lowe is going to lead it off, followed by the designated hitter Chris Davis, and then Manny Machado hitting third again. Adam Jones cleanup. Matt Wieters in the lineup. He'll catch it at fifth with Ryan Flaherty at first. J.J. Hardy at shortstop. Travis Snyder is in right field hitting eighth. And Jonathan Scope, the second baseman, will bat ninth.
Well, taking the mound tonight, Erasmo Ramirez making his 15th start of the season. The other numbers outstanding. A record of 8-3, ERA of 3.5, and that opponent's average at 2.16. All of those numbers since moving back into the starting rotation in the middle of May, markedly better than that. That's how good Erasmo's been. Let's take a look at the defense as it lines up. Brought to you by BMW. In the outfield left to right, we have DeJesus, Kiermaier, and Souza Jr. Across the infield, third to first, Longoria, Beckham, Forsythe, and Loney, with Kurt Casale getting the call behind the plate.
Ramirez all set to go to work, and David Lowe not in the lineup last night, leading off tonight. And the first pitch of this game is in there, a strike call. Fastball in the upper 80s. That first pitch presented by Pitch a Penny. Popped it up. Left side. Longoria is making the call, and now Beckham just behind him is going to make the catch.
That was a very, very good deke there by Evan Longoria, because he convinced that he was going to make that play, and he allows Tim Beckham the honors.
Well, tonight's viewing matchup, look at Ramirez against some of these big sluggers. Chris Davis 0 for 8. Manny Machado 1 hit, that a home run, 1 of 8. Adam Jones 1 out of 6. And now Davis goes after the first pitch, lifting a fly ball into left. DeJesus out there to make the catch on this one.
Well, the first two hitters here, just a microcosm of what has made Erasmo Ramirez so successful. It's the efficiency, getting into the zone with good stuff. You know, we've seen him run that fastball up into the 93, 94 range. Most of the time it's a little bit down from that, 91, 92, but tremendous changeup, sweeping slider, and a curveball that we've seen more recently.
Well, here's Manny Machado. He was on 4 times last night with a couple of hits, a walk, and he was hit by a pitch. The first pitch is a strike. That pitch didn't miss by much. 1-1. Well, Ramirez 8-3 on the year. And he's ahead of Machado 1-2. A little late break in that one. Ground ball to third, scooped by Longoria. Pistos right on the money. 3 up and 3 down go the Orioles. Rays coming in to hit, no score. A quick top half of the first. Line up for the Rays, presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Steven Souza Jr. again leading off. Then John Jason, Evan Longoria, James Loney, Logan Forsythe, the David DeJesus now in the middle. Tim Beckham with the big hit last night gets another start. He hits in front of Kevin Kiermaier. And Kirk Casale, the catcher, bats ninth.
Well, up and down season so far here for Miguel Gonzalez, making his 18th start. The record 8-6, ERA 4.21. You can see he does give up some home runs. 17 in 98 and a third innings will be around the plate. Expect the Rays lineup to be aggressive.
And the first pitch, a diving stop at first by Flaherty, and he races Souza to the bag. Flaherty, the only man on the right side of the infield, made the diving stop there, and really more like a second baseman or shortstop than a first baseman. And he made a fine play.
And that's who needed to, that's what he needed to do. Normal second baseman, but he's over there with the shift on. Souza Jr. going to shoot it the other way, and how about that? A step and a dive and a race to the bag. Heck of a way to start the ball game for the Oriole defense.
Here's John Jaso. The pitch is a strike. With Jaso up, Machado's the only man on the left side of the infield. And I think what you said last night is right on. This has become the norm.
Yeah.
So when they play hitters straight up, that's when we should mention it. Liner in the left, and that's going to hang up, caught by Lowe. Two gone.
It'll give me more guys to circle, too. And when we say it straight up, look, third baseman is actually playing a third base position. Short's at short, second, and on and on. Now let's go ahead and set that Oriole defense quickly. Brought to you by BMW. In the outfield left to right, David Lowe, Adam Jones, and Travis Snyder. Across that infield third to first, Manny Machado, J.J. Hardy, Jonathan Scope, and Ryan Flaherty with Matt Wieters behind the dish.
So a couple of quick outs here. In the bottom of the first brings up Evan Longoria. And again, Flaherty, the only man on the right side. The pitch is low.
I'm not circling him. He's the only guy on the right side.
Two and 0 now. Well, that shift, you talk about, well, you don't want to point out the obvious. Well, the shift is becoming the obvious. I know you couldn't.
Should be right there. He's okay. All good.
That's a strike, and it's 2-1. A little fun with the shift here early.
Hey, listen, love the telestrator. The shift has made the telestrator so much more fun and useful.
Made it relevant.
Yes.
Pop foul. That's going to come straight back. And is out of play. Taking the count to 2-2. Well, you can see the hits by direction for Longoria all over the place, but 22 to right field.
Last night had the big double up the right field line.
Going into the dirt. The count is full. James Loney again hitting behind Longoria. Loney on deck. Line drive into left. Back toward the warning track. It'll roll to the wall. Evans on his way to second with a double. 21st double for Longoria.
I think this may be a different night offensively for the Rays off Miguel Gonzalez, a guy who's around the plate, not a ton of movement on his fastball. And so far we've seen Souza Jr. hit a rocket that Flaherty made a nice play on. John Jaso shot one the other way with authority, and then Evan Longoria right there with a missile to the wall and left.
And here's James Loney, the guy the Rays would love to see start to get a line drive that will drop in. He's hit a few line drives, caught, and then has lifted a number of pitches to the left side, fly balls. Scoring opportunity right here in the bottom of the first. He takes a fastball, ball one.
I like what Kevin Cash, now again for the second night in a row, has done with the lineup. When you look how it breaks out with Souza leading off, you're going righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty. And, you know, he talked about doing that to make matchup issues for the bullpen of the Baltimore Orioles. But I'll tell you this, it will also have an effect on the starting pitcher, trying to get locked in on both sides of the plate.
Rider into right, charged by Snyder. He's there and makes the catch. Rays threaten, do not score. We go to the second, scoreless. By Toyota. Let's go places. By Morgan Auto Group. Make it Morgan. We make it happen. And by Grow Financial. Don't go through life. Grow through life. Fans still coming into Tropicana Field here on a Saturday night. Rasmo Ramirez against Miguel Gonzalez. Ramirez made just 7 pitches in the first. And now Adam Jones will step in to begin the second inning. And he bunts third base side. That's foul. Strike one. Jones trying to bunt his way on. Jones 0 for his last 13 to start this one. And with Longoria back, and Jones can move, thinking about bunting his way aboard.
Well, you try to do anything to jumpstart yourself, to jumpstart your team. This is a team that, for the most part, the body of work says that they will score runs, they'll hit some home runs. But recently, it's been very, very difficult for Buck Showalter's squad, and they are struggling right now.
One ball, one strike. Into right. Souza's there. Took him just a beat to get a really good lineup on that one, but he made the catch for the out. Tonight's Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Clean, Crisp, Coors Light. And take a look at this. Since the 19th of April for Ramirez, you just can't be much better than what he's been.
No, and you know what? You go to his mindset. You know, he said something interesting, in the paper, and talking about, there's been a lot, being said about how the Rays use their starting pitchers, how they'll get them out early. Sometimes they're throwing the ball very well and they come out early. And listen, a lot of people have taken issue with that. Sometimes I do. Being a former starter, you want to stay out there. And so I understand the frustration. And sometimes you wonder, why are they doing this? Why they've got their plan. Now, here's the thing. That plan's not going to change. That's the way that they're going to do it most of the time. And I love the fact that Erasmo Ramirez said, hey, listen, I look at it as a challenge. How efficient can I be the first 2 times through the batting order? And if I'm really good there, maybe that earns me another inning. And if I'm really good in that inning, maybe I get one more. And I think that really is the only mindset that you can take if you want to stay sane. And it's led to his success.
How about that? He strikes out Wieters, 2 up and 2 down. And I'll tell you, that's a great mindset. What an attitude that is. I'll just be that much better.
Because, he realizes that, like it or not, it's not going to change. But I can be so good that it'll make him real hard to pull me out of a game, and I'll be so efficient. And guess what? That's exactly what he's gone out and done.
And Flaherty out front. So change up there. He finished Wieters off, had him out in front, and now starts Flaherty with the change. There's such a quiet confidence in Ramirez now compared to when he came over from Seattle. He'd struggled, and we chronicled that. He was not altogether a confident pitcher in the strike zone. And that got him into trouble. He was giving up a lot of base runners, more walks than he certainly has during this stretch.
Well, all of his measurables, his strikeout rate has gone up slightly, but the walk rate, the hit rate, the home run rate have all plummeted dramatically. And it's because he's pitching from out in front. That confidence, the confidence to throw his pitches for strikes early, expand late.
Well, tonight, 6 hitters and 6 first pitch strikes. This one will be caught by Kiermaier, and another efficient inning. Flaherty broke his bat. 1, 2, 3, go the Orioles. Second, time for you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag #SSDataStrongFan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Logan Forsythe will begin the bottom of the second inning against Miguel Gonzalez here. Forsythe, DeJesus, and Beckham. And the pitch is a ball. Well, Gonzalez made just 11 pitches in the first. Ramirez 7 in the first and 11 in the second. count is 2-0. So these pitchers have been very efficient here early. Speaking of efficient pitches, Dr. Lester Tuttle Jr., 80 years young, threw out the first pitch today, and there's a reason for that. We'll get to that in a moment. Broken bat and a liner out to short for the out. It's a large contingent from University of South Florida, USF St. Pete. This is the 50th anniversary observed here at the ballpark as part of that celebration. And Dr. Tuttle, the founding dean of USF St. Pete, and as you mentioned, 80 years young, and he said he wasn't sure if he was going to throw his curveball, his knuckleball, or his 97-mile-per-hour fastball. Well, we saw him. He broke a nice curveball into the dirt. And so if we could see that 97-mile-per-hour fastball, there might be a spot for him somewhere.
That's why I think that he decided to not go with that pitch, because he goes with that pitch. Now he's in contract negotiations all game long, and he really doesn't, get a chance to enjoy with the people that he came with. And so that's why I think he went with the hook.
Yeah, he'd hate to leave the large contingent here celebrating tonight to try to negotiate a free agent contract.
80 or not, if you're bringing 97, you're going to get signed.
Well, you got to be confident when you go to the mound. He was ready. So congratulations to Dr. Tuttle. Great career and a great institution here in the Tampa Bay area. 1-1 to count to David DeJesus. The pitch is up, and now it's 2-1. Tim Beckham on deck. Pop to the left side. Machado stalking it into foul territory. 2 up, 2 down. These pitchers establishing a nice pace so far tonight. How about Tim Beckham last night taking that 0-2 pitch through the middle?
I thought that the adjustment that he made was tremendous. He was down 0-2, had just swung through a fastball, and Darren O'Day comes back with another fastball up in the zone, and instead of taking that full swing again, he just shortened things up in order to put that ball in play using the middle of the field, and it turned out to win the ball game for the Rays.
The strike, remember the start of the season when he was with the club? He got some big hits. He hit that home run over in Miami. Remember that long at bat he had? He got down in the count and had, I think, a 10th pitch at bat and hit a home run in that series. It's a little close there, and he checked in time. It's 1-1. There have been a number of at bats that we've seen him get down in the count and then seems to go to work. And his approach last night, 0-2, was outstanding.
His batting average with 2 strikes is higher than it is normally. That is not normal. But you're right. He has that ability, not afraid to hit with 2 strikes, and and he's shown the ability to make that adjustment in mid at bat. Like right there, you see that swing to get to 2 strikes. Now you'd expect him fully to try to shorten up.
Well, he's down 1-2, so he may have Miguel Gonzalez exactly where he wants him. We'll see.
Yeah, well, he's done it many times.
It's upstairs, 2-2. Well, that home run he hit in Miami, and then he hit another home run against the Blue Jays up in Toronto, and that was on an 0-2 pitch. What a big hit for the Rays last night. Full count now. On deck, Kevin Kiermaier. Cut and a miss fastball. Gonzalez puts up his first strikeout. We go to the third scoreless. And the Orioles, last chance to get your 2015 Rays Flex Pack. Select any 3, 6, or 9 games. Get 50% off parking and choose from one of 8 great gifts with your purchase. Save up to 50% with packs starting at just $59. Act now because sales end July 28th. Call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. 1 strike to count to J.J. Hardy leading off. Hardy at 237 on the year, and there's a second strike. Ramirez quickly out in front. How about the red-hot Phillies? They have something really special going on at Wrigley Field. Liner on an 0-2 pitch, and that's in there for a base hit. Pitch up a bit, and Hardy leads off with a single. Cole Hamels has a no-hitter through 8 innings, with the Phillies leading the Cubs 5-0.
It took the state of Florida
to
get the Phillies red hot.
They swept the Marlins, took 2 out of 3 from the Rays. They beat the Cubs yesterday, and now they lead 5-0, and Hamels is 1 inning away from a no-hitter.
Get out of their way.
Travis Snyder fouls it back. Well, they're 35-63 starting play. So they've got a little ways to go, but this has been the greatest stretch of the year for them.
Without question.
Oh, 2 in a game of interest to the Rays in Seattle. The Mariners lead the Blue Jays 6-4. Seattle coming in to hit in the bottom of the 7th of that game. Rays start the day 5.5 back of New York, tied with Toronto for second place in the American League East. Baltimore running 4th, 7 back, and then Boston 11 out. Tigers have a 5-1 lead in the bottom of the 8th on the Red Sox at Fenway. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Ramirez, by the way, is 8 of 8 in first pitch strikes tonight. Fly ball. Lifted toward right center, and Kiermaier is going to make the catch. Souza ducking out of the way. That's the first out.
Ramirez just, we talked about his efficiency. He's got 15 pitches an inning for the season. Less than that during his run since coming back into the starting rotation. He just doesn't waste a whole lot of time. I mean, it's fastball both sides of the plate. Here comes the changeup. I'm going to sweep that slider. No wasted pitches.
Jonathan Scope takes the first pitch too low, and it's 1-0. First time Ramirez has missed on the first pitch. One on, 1 out. One.
Boy, it used to be that if you were the 9-hole hitter in the American League and they left the right side of the field open for you, that was like Christmas come early. You just go ahead, you stay inside the baseball, take a base hit. They're giving you a base hit to right field. But guys just either unwilling or unable to take advantage of that anymore. Just, they don't hit that way.
Yeah, it's a cinch base hit now.
Yeah, this isn't 3 or 4 hit. This is 9-hole hitter. Jonathan Scope, your second baseman. You're saying, I dare you. We don't think you can do that.
Into the dirt. Now 3-1. Scope, for an example, somewhere they're figuring this out, already figuring it out. But Scope, for an example, he is by nature a very aggressive hitter up there. He's got some pop. He had 16 home runs last year. He struck out 122 times. So there's a question, which approach would be more effective for him and the team? Into center field, here comes Kiermaier, and he cannot come up with it. Down to second goes Hardy. Hardy had to go about halfway and stop just in case Kiermaier made the catch. And Kiermaier, after he failed to make the catch, and it would have been outstanding for sure, was trying to keep it in play and have a play on Hardy, but it bounces away from him.
Now watching it all the way in, it gets to the glove, but right off of the heel, and as he squeezes it, comes into contact with the ground, and that ball pops free.
Runners first and second, one out for David Lowe. A big cut and a miss. And Lowe anticipating something there, and he was out in front of the changeup. Old Hamels with one out to go. 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning with a no-hitter going. Ground ball through the left side. It'll be charged by DeJesus. Stopping at third is Hardy. And the bases are loaded on 3 singles.
Well, David Lowe able to take advantage of an open left side of the infield. Just going to slap this ball the other way. The fastball, it stays up. That makes it a little bit easier for Lowe to do that. Anytime that ball's elevated, go ahead and just poke it that way. And now you got some real trouble. So if he finishes off the no-hitter, what does that do to his trade value?
You know, he'd had a couple bad outings, and people go, well, what does that do? Well, now he comes back. He's 1 out away from a no-hitter. That's Chris Davis. There's a first pitch strike. A little bit of a spot here now for Ramirez on the 3 singles with 1 out. So a major threat for Baltimore. One. Big cut and a miss. 1 and 2.
Well, now he's put himself in prime position for the strikeout. Now he could climb the ladder here, Chris Davis. You see that uppercut swing. You can get the fastball above that. You can also go change up down and away. Really, it's whatever Ramirez feels most confident with.
And he went up. Davis thought about it and held. So the count is 2-2.
Boy, I don't know how you lay off of that. I mean, Chris Davis able to take this pitch close to being a strike anyway.
Yeah, it looks like a strike right there.
Right at the belt, maybe just above the belt.
And the count is full. Hamels has thrown the no-hitter. Chris Bryant with a fly ball to center. So Cole Hamels no-hits the Cubs.
No kidding.
5-0. Three-two now. And a long one to right. That fastball turned around, gone for the slam. Hardy, Scope, and Lowe all scoring in front of Chris Davis, who had just unloaded his 22nd home run of the year. It's a grand slam.
Well, he'd seen a couple of fastballs, and this one was not as far up in the zone. Maybe Erasmo Ramirez thinking, I need to throw a strike here. And Chris Davis is able to get that uppercut swing to it. And when he does, it goes.
So 3 singles and the home run. It's 4-0. Now a liner fouled off the bat of Machado out of play.
Well, you know what? You go back to that at bat. It really was the 1-2 take on the fastball. We've seen Chris Davis swing through that pitch so many times. He took that to get to 2-2, then took a changeup to full count, and then hammered the heater.
Down to third, Longoria throws a strike to first, and Machado is the second out. That home run by Chris Davis, the first hit he has off Ramirez. He's now 1 for 10 against him, and that hits a grand slam. Two gone for Adam Jones. Strike one off speed.
Well, a number of times we've seen the Rays fall down early in a ball game and then come back and make it really interesting towards the end, and that starts now. You got to continue to pitch tough. If you're a Erasmo Ramirez, of course you're very upset. You know, I don't like the position that you're in, but you're still out there and you need to keep plugging away. You never know what could happen. The Rays have had some good swings off Miguel Gonzalez.
A ball, 2 strikes. Two and two. Yeah, that pitch to Davis that was so close that he took Paul Immel behind the plate. He tends to, if he's going to widen the zone, he's going to give the pitcher a break. That's a fair ball that bounces out of play, so it's a double for Adam Jones. And history tells us that Immel's not afraid to call a strike, but it's more wide than it is high. And he'll give that pitch sometimes away, especially to a right-handed hitter. And that pitch was very close. He called it a ball up.
Yeah, and I'm still surprised that he didn't swing at it. I really am. I mean, that's a pitch we very rarely see Davis lay off of. That fastball right about the belt, just above the belt, and really could have gone either way. He takes it, and well, it turns into 4 runs for the Orioles. But that's how traditionally, you know, a lot of the umpires have been, you know, up, not so much, but a little bit off if you're hitting your spots consistently.
Here's the 30th pitch of the inning, and Wieters fouls it. 0-2. Foul ball, count still 2 strikes. Chris Davis unloading a grand slam here in the inning. Up the right side, that will be foul beyond the bullpen mound. One ball and 2 strikes. The grand slam for Davis, his 4th in his career. He had 2 last year, and one of them came against the Rays, hit it off Eric Bedard. Tap by the mound. Beckham is there and makes the play. 6-3 on the shift, handled by Beckham. 8 men come to the plate. Chris Davis unloads the grand slam. It's 4-0 Baltimore. The 3rd in the game tonight and all season. Tires Plus donates $100 to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports. Kevin Kiermaier to open it here in the bottom half of the inning. Pitch is a strike. So the Rays going to need some runs tonight. They won with 3 runs last night, 3-1, and recently that has been about it. There's a liner into center field. So leadoff base hit. See if that's the start of something. So one way of looking at it, the Rays are due to score more than 4 runs.
I think they've done that one time in the last 10-11 games, and that was a ball game they lost in Philadelphia, 5-4. But the swings that this lineup has gotten off of Miguel Gonzalez here the first time through, you got to feel optimistic that they're going to put something together and make this real interesting, because they've hit some balls right on the nose.
Yeah, they're comfortable swings.
Yes.
Here's Kurt Casale. Fastball fouled out of play. Orioles and the Rays 5-5 in the season series. Just not a lot of offense at all in the season series. The Rays hitting only .211 against the Oriole pitching through the first 10 games of the season series. And the Orioles were hitting only .196 off Rays pitching.
How about that? Well, the Rays offense has struggled this season putting anything together consistently. The Baltimore offense at times can put up big numbers, but they're very reliant upon the home run. They really limit their opportunities because of other things in the offensive game plan that they don't do well, which is run. No stolen bases. They don't hit many doubles. They don't walk very much.
Yeah, they're 13th in walks. They're 14th in steals. And they do hit some home runs occasionally. Casale fouls it off his foot, but you know, that's the makeup of the American League East. When you look at all the clubs, the Yankees now have taken a little lead in the East, and so they're showing themselves in that way to be closer to a complete team. But there are no complete teams in the American League East.
No. Really the only complete offense, is Toronto.
Yeah.
They have. You look at their offense, dynamic, home runs, doubles. They run, they steal bags, they take tons of walks. They just can't pitch.
Yep.
And there's a fatal flaw on every team. In some cases, more than one.
And strike 3 called on Casale. Of course, the Rays. Here's the other thing about the Rays. We've talked about the way the Rays have built their teams. This team obviously has had a big problem offensively, but the Rays have always pitched and they've caught the ball. And recently, they have not done that all that well. The Orioles, that's one thing the Orioles do. They don't make mistakes. They've made 39 errors all year, the lowest number in the major leagues. And what the Rays have seen recently, they've come back down to the middle of the pack when it comes to their defensive work. Well, that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for outstanding pitching and outstanding defense, and in concert that keeps them in a position maybe to win a game here when they score 3 or 4 runs.
I don't care how good your pitching staff is. If you give the opposition extra outs, that will lead to an extra run or two. And an extra run or two with the Rays offense at a little over 3.5 runs a game, that's huge. That's a huge percentage.
Well, he went around right there on the appeal, tried to check, and now Souza Jr.'s down 0-2. So while the Rays have really struggled to score a lot of runs, the defense recently has not been what they'd hoped for. And you know what? One of those things, there's no way around this. Losing Cabrera at shortstop, who was so steady there, that has been, to this point, a significant loss because he had been so good there, so steady. Souza's out on strikes. Back-to-back strikeouts. Casale and Souza. Two outs now. But they've had defensive issues in other areas as well as shortstop. But it's nice to have an anchor there. And when you looked at this infield, Loney, getting him back, you'd think. Third base, Longoria, shortstop, Cabrera, and Forsythe. You could make a case for that being a pretty steady defensive infield.
Well, you have, from Longoria to Cabrera at short, Forsythe at second, that they have combined for the fewest errors among second, short, and third of anybody in the big leagues. That's how good they've been. And then Loney. And some of the defensive issues that have cropped up aren't even errors. They haven't even gone into the book as errors. They're just plays that you normally see made that haven't been made. Mm-hmm. Extra bases allowed to be taken, overshooting a cutoff man, guys not where they're supposed to be. Issues like that may not show up in the book, but when you watch this team every day, they're uncharacteristic mistakes.
There's ball pitched down, and it's 3-0. Runner at first. Kiermaier opened with a single. Still aboard over there. Jaso takes the fastball. It's 3-1. Well, the Blue Jays, speaking of offense, the Blue Jays have tied Seattle 6-6. Mariners batting in the bottom of the 8th. Jaso has a full count.
The one thing we've seen here from Miguel Gonzalez that he's been doing a nice job of as this game has moved along is fastball command to both sides of the plate. He has consistently gotten that pitch where he's wanted to. The deeper that he has worked.
Jaso's out on strikes. The Rays leave a man. 3 strikeouts in the inning for Gonzalez.
Top of the 4th as Erasmo Ramirez heads back out to the mound. And all new inside the Rays every 5th day Ramirez tonight after the Rays live post-game show. It features a lot of the starting pitchers that we've had and we've seen from the Rays starting rotation this season, which has been quite unique with all of the injuries and the new faces we've seen up and down from Durham. Specifically for Erasmo Ramirez, he has such a great story of how he's made it to the big leagues. And guys, I don't know if you remember, but how he bounced back from those first 2 starts of the season.
So 2 strikes to count here to Ryan Flaherty. She's got a point about every 5th day, and with all the injuries, Ray's still trying to get the starting rotation back together. Smiley's pitching in a rehab game.
How many different guys, how many times have we brought up Nathan Carnes, trying to make the team, starts the 2nd game of the year. Erasmo Ramirez, what he's been able to do. You've been limited. Drew Smiley's only had a couple of starts. Of course, Alex Cobb, none. Matt Moore just working his way back. They've had to have a lot of guys, step up. And, it's been difficult. But the starting rotation and the starting rotation numbers across the board, have been some of the tops in baseball. Jake Odorizzi, he missed 5 weeks with an oblique issue. So it has been an absolute challenge, but boy, they have piecemealed that part of the team together very well.
Hardy with a popper to the right side, and Aloni makes the catch, so a couple outs. Drew Smiley's going to pitch a rehab game for Durham. In fact, he's going to pitch against Norfolk, the AAA affiliate of the Orioles. That's going to be, speaking of that starting pitching staff, when your starting pitching by this time of the year has made 15 rehab starts. It's been an issue. Snyder's out on a nice little play by Beckham, going out from short into shallow left. 3 up, 3 down. We go to the bottom of the fourth inning. Evan Longoria is going to lead it off. Tomorrow on Rays Live, here's what's coming up. The pregame show presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Matt Moore is going to be on the hill for the Rays. We'll hear from him, and it's a Kids Sunday here at Tropicana Field. It's always lively on a Kids Sunday.
You never know what you're going to get. It's complete wild card.
Evan Longoria goes for the first one. Pops it toward the line. Short right. Flaherty's out from first and makes the catch.
You know, that's another play that Ryan Flaherty's going to make look easier than most first basemen. You know, being a middle infielder by trade, playing at first base, those are tough angles. We see a lot of times, you know, guys can struggle with the fact we see a lot of times second basemen come over to make that play. He made that easy.
Here's James Loney. He fouls it back. That's a strike. Rays facing Miguel Gonzalez. A ball and a strike. Two balls, one strike. Rays got the two-out double from Evan Longoria in the first. And a leadoff base hit from Kiermaier in the third. Rays have left both those men aboard. One out, base is empty in the fourth. Line drive, base hit. Jones picks it up in center. James Loney on base here with one out.
Able to get this ball airborne. Fastball by Gonzalez way down. You see that ball's below the knees, but James Loney able to drop the head on that pitch that's middle of the plate and kind of scoop that ball out into center field.
This is Logan Forsythe. Logan lined out to short to Hardy his first time. Hardy shortstop, out at second, safe at first. They force Loney. Hardy to scope. That's the second out.
This bouncer gets to Hardy. It just wasn't enough time. Logan Forsythe always hustling out of the box. I'm just not going to get him on a ball that wasn't hit that sharp. James Loney aggressively coming across second base with that slide. Very aggressive.
Now David DeJesus. A ball, no strikes.
When you think about the slide last night from Machado coming across second base after he was drilled.
In the aftermath of that, everyone conducted themselves like gentlemen, saying that they didn't think that either hit batter was intentional. And the slides, just good, clean, aggressive slides. And all is well.
And I'd love to hear what they had to say when the media wasn't in the room. They said all the right things. I don't know if they believed them. We'll find out.
I guess we might. 2-1. Well, there you go. Machado not happy, and the slide down there at second.
I mean, get those feet out of the way. Jake Helmer must be a heck of a dancer.
To strike 2-2. Machado went in there as if the braking system just completely disappeared.
Just miscalculated, overshot the runway.
Yep. Needed a parachute. Line drive back into right, but Snyder makes the catch, and the Rays are finished. They get a hit and leave a man. We go to the fifth inning. It's 4-0 Baltimore. By Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By Circle K, it's just 69 cents for your favorite size Polar Pop all summer long. And by Checkers, mix and match our famous Big Buford and Big Chicken Deluxe. Get 2 for $5. Back to the hill. Erasmo Ramirez will face the number 9 hitter, Jonathan Schoop. Strike 1 on the foul ball back. Schoop part of the 4-run third when he singled. It was the second hit of the inning. Three balls and a strike. Two and two. David Lowe is the top of the order tonight for Buck Showalter's club. Full count. That is out number 1. Strikeout number 2.
You know, when you look at Erasmo Ramirez, the way that he doles out his pitches, left-handed hitters, he's basically 90% fastball changeup. But against the righties, you know, he's got the fastball, obviously the slider, and the changeup. But when he gets to 2 strikes, he's almost 50-50 with those 2 off-speed deliveries. So you really aren't comfortable to sit on any one thing, and that's why he's able to come with that 3-2 changeup and be effective with it.
Bunt foul by Lowe. Well, that's what it's all about. If you've got a couple alternatives there, the hitter's got something extra to think about.
And you mix them well, you know, then they're just up there trying to cover. The swings aren't quite as aggressive, especially if you're able to execute the pitch in the area that you want it.
A curveball there, and as you said, you don't see a lot of those, but if you do, they're probably to a left-handed hitter.
And it's matchup specific. You know, you'll see it. We saw it a number of times in his start against the Toronto Blue Jays last time out, where, you know, he was able to pick up a couple of strikeouts with that pitch, but it is hit or miss.
Short center. Kiermaier's there. Lowe popping that changeup into shallow center field for the out. How about this? We mentioned that Ramirez started this game by throwing first pitch strikes to the first 8 hitters and then missed to Jonathan Schoop. That's the only hitter he's failed to throw a first pitch strike against. He came right back. Touch for the grand slam by Chris Davis when he went to 3-2 on him. Davis fouls the first fastball back. Strike 1.
Now, full count, and he's got to throw a strike, and Chris Davis, he didn't miss that one, and it cost the Rays and Erasmo Ramirez 4 runs.
He's had only 2 3-ball counts. He was 3-1 to Schoop, who looped a single into center, and then 3-2 to Davis, who hit the home run with the bases loaded. He's ahead of Davis, 0-2.
That's what was so odd about that inning. He gives up an 0-2 hit to Hardy. You know, coming into this start, Erasmo Ramirez had the lowest batting average against in the American League as a starting pitcher with 2 strikes. He just doesn't give anything up with 2 strikes. Davis got the grand slam on 2 strikes. Hardy started the inning out with a base hit on an 0-2 count. You know, Schoop hits the blooper that Kiermaier almost comes up with. Frustrating inning.
Cut to miss. He strikes out Davis. Breaking down and in. 1-2-3. Go the Baltimore Orioles. 4-0 Baltimore. Follow the Rays all season with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At bat, up to the moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, StatCast, and more. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet. Tim Beckham's going to open the bottom of the 5th inning. Takes strike one. Miguel Gonzalez has given the Rays just 3 hits through 4. He's getting their second look at him this game. And Beckham is behind in the count 0-2. Let's see what he has done against the Rays this year and has not given up much.
That start on April the 8th that he had 5 walks, and those are really the only opportunities that he's given this team all season.
5 walks, 3 hits, and the Rays still got just 1 run off it.
But you can see how he can be effective. Not overpowering, not awe-inspiring stuff, but he can command the fastball to both sides of the plate, change up, a little bit of a cutter every now and then, breaking ball.
Broken bat, and a ball grounded to Scope on the shortstop side of second. So with the shift, Beckham is retired to start the bottom of the 5th inning. You know, if you really like pitching, he's a guy who's fun to watch. If you come to the ballpark to watch a guy who's not overpowering pitch when he's on his game.
And you know, pitchers like this are few and far between nowadays. I mean, really, there's a lot of stuff, guys. You know, you want to come and see the radar gun get lit up and see power sliders, you know, from the pit of Hades. Well, you're going to see a lot of that stuff. But as far as pitchers, guys moving the ball around the zone, changing speeds, up and down, in and out, really, they're not as plentiful as they once were. A lot more stuff has invaded the game.
Yeah, the slider, as you described just there, scary.
It's really nasty.
Very scary.
I got caught there. Didn't know quite where to go.
1-1. Well, I was frightened.
I felt like I had painted myself into the corner, and it was like, you know, just turn and jump. Just get it over with.
Yeah. There was a cold chill came over the booth when you mentioned that.
I saw the look that you gave me.
It's 2-1.
It sounds like an early Sunday morning email. I have to answer.
Now 2-1. Just strike 2-2. But you're right about that. the game, who knows what it's going to be like 5 years from now, but what it's like now is velocity and just unbelievable sliders. That's such a part of the game now.
Some of these guys that you see run out there, whether they're coming out of the bullpen or starting pitchers, young starting pitchers, their stuff is so good. And going through, whether it's high school into college or A-ball, moving on up the ladder, they haven't had to learn how to pitch. Yep. They've been able to outstuff everybody. So you understand that they may not be as polished in knowing how to set hitters up, working a sequence, because it's never been something that they've had to do. They could roll out there with their 97 and 90-mile-an-hour slider, and if they could get it near the zone, guess what? You win.
And those are all the guys who clubs throughout baseball are scouting and who they're after. That's a foul. So the count is still 2-2. There are plenty of guys out there. I think there's a possibility for a team to pay attention to guys who are 95, 94, 93, below. Because they're all enamored by guys who throw 94, 95 and all of that. I think there must be pitchers out there who are 89 to 92 or 93 who maybe they get signed, maybe they don't, because I've had conversations with scouts, amateur scouts, who tell me they just don't have time to go scout those guys. There must be a ton of them out there, wouldn't you think?
I think there absolutely would be. And these guys, here's the split by Gonzalez. Takes it down below the zone, gets the swing and a miss. But you're right. They don't even get the opportunity because there are just too many electric arms. And the idea is, they can afford more mistakes if you've got that kind of velocity, number one. And number two, the feeling has always been, I can't teach a fastball. I can teach you, though, how to pitch and teach you how to, to locate. So if I could just keep filling up the coffers with guys that are 95 to 97, I could get something out of that.
That'd be worth just adding another team to your system and loading up with those guys. If those guys are out there, and if what the scouts tell me are true, if that's true, go get those guys. But the ability to pitch, we don't see it as often as maybe we did before because of the emphasis on power arms. Boy, that's a pretty good pool of talent out there. A 2-strike count now to Casale. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Yeah, think about Mark Burley right now.
Yeah, exactly.
All he does is win. That's all he does. Pitch well. Make every start in the last 15 years or longer, and win in double digits and throw 200+ innings. And the guy's topping out at 83, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe hump up at 84.
Yeah, if he's really
angry.
Yeah, maybe 85 even.
Easy.
2-2. It's fouled back. So the count remains right there on Casale with the bases empty and 2 gone.
The flip side is this, though. If I could roll out there with 97 and had a slider that was 89 or 90, I don't think I would throw anything else either. I may throw that every pitch if you could locate it.
Okay, that's fine. Do that. That's great.
This guy does it pretty good.
Yeah, it's working out. All I'm saying is that there appears to be, based on prior conversations, that there are arms out there that aren't getting that kind of focus that could go pitch. This guy wins in double figures. Gonzalez won 10 games last year. He was 10-9. Ground ball to third. Machado's going to make the play, and the Rays are out in order. We're through 5. 4-0 Baltimore. Rays facing the right-hander Miguel Gonzalez, who through 5 innings had given the Rays no runs on just 3 hits, while picking up 5 strikeouts, and 1 swing of the bat from Chris Davis provided all of the runs in this game. A grand slam in the 3rd.
Yeah, that has been it. An uncharacteristic inning for Erasmo Ramirez. A close pitch that didn't get swung at. A full count grand slam, and that is the ball game. Outside of that, both of these pitchers have been fantastic.
Well, you've got to give Ramirez a lot of credit. It's frustrating to have given up the grand slam. Now Machado pops up the first pitch, and right there to catch it is Loney. How about this? Ramirez is out there pitching, trailing 4-0 right now. He's faced 21 hitters, 20 first pitch strikes, 20 out of 21.
That's an amazing statistic. I mean, that really speaks to what has made him so successful. That efficiency, constantly pitching from a position of strength.
Adam Jones, who doubled in that 4-run 3rd, fouls this one. Well, the Rays and the Orioles last night. Rays came back to win it 3-1. They're going to need a bigger comeback tonight, and they'll wrap up the series with Baltimore tomorrow afternoon. Matt Moore will be on the hill for the Rays against Wei-Yin Chen. There's a base hit into right. And so Adam Jones is aboard. 1-on-1 out. Let's check in with Rich Hollenberg once again. Rich?
Thanks, Dwayne. You touched on it earlier. Drew Smyly continued to make progress on that left shoulder injury. He's scheduled to make his first rehab start. Now, he's starting for AAA Durham at Norfolk, the Orioles AAA affiliate. But Kevin Cash said earlier today it's strictly a weather-related decision to start him at AAA. A lot of rain expected in the Florida State League area, so he still expects Drew to make about 3 to 4 rehab starts in the minor leagues, and then they will reassess him coming back to the big club. Guys?
Okay. There's Wieters taking a pitch down. Thanks, Rich. Yeah, they're not comfortable yet with any projections as to when he may be back. Let him go, and we'll see.
Yeah, and that's the right way to approach it. He'll let you know.
No play in second, and they get Wieters at first. So Jones moves up. Ball handled by Beckham.
And that ball, that with the shift on, it took Beckham from, he was over on the first base side of second base. Now he's got to come back, try to make his way back to the bag, but Adam Jones hustling is going to beat him there, so he floats the throw over to Loney.
Two outs now with Jones at second. And the big news on Wieters at bat is that for only the second time tonight, Ramirez did not make a first pitch strike. Here's Ryan Flaherty. Pitch is upstairs. Flaherty 0 for 2, a couple fly balls to center field. Fouled back. 1-1. Two outs. Jones at second. Way just a bit. He laid off the changeup. 2-1. Right side, Forsythe with the toss. Top half of the 6th inning is over. Rays will have the top of the order coming up, down 4-0. Next great moment in Rays history presented by Geico. July 25th in 2005, the Devil Rays beat Boston in walk-off style, 10th inning. Aubrey Huff with a double off Kurt Schilling driving in. Jorge Cantu all the way from first base to give the Devil Rays a victory. Just 10 short years ago.
Where does the time go? My goodness.
A ball, no strikes, the count to Steven Souza Jr.
Well, I'll tell you what, time is starting to go away from the Rays here tonight. They need to get busy. Not going to be easy. Miguel Gonzalez has been pretty good with his location and pitch selection.
Well, to begin with, he hasn't walked anybody. There's a tapper to third near the bag. Machado. Nice play by Machado right there. Wow. Outstanding.
We've seen him obviously getting a chance to watch these guys go at it 19 times a year. But coming over close to the line, you got to avoid the bag. He scoops the ball in front while the body's on the foul side of it. Oh, by the way, then you got to make a throw against a guy that can move a little bit up the line. Lays it right in there perfectly.
Well, the Orioles through the years have had a couple guys who could play third base. And Machado made a play right there in the tradition of some great plays at third in Baltimore.
Anytime that you can make a play and you know, you watch that replay and you're like, yeah, okay, this is a nice play. Well, it was a lot more than that. When you can make it look that easy, pretty special.
Up the right side by Jaso. Fair. Headed to the corner. Jaso's headed to second. And he's in there standing with a double. So the Rays get a man to second base. That's the first time that's occurred since Longoria doubled with 2 outs in the first.
Now this is a fastball trying to come in. Gonzalez has been good with the location, but look, that ball ends up more middle. And John Jaso's able to unload on it and get it down there into the corner. And this is what the Rays need to do. One here, one there. Make for an interesting finish.
Evan 1 out of 2. So the Rays starting their third time through the order against Miguel Gonzalez. Two 2-0. Blue Jays came back to beat Seattle 8-6 in their game. Big news tonight. Cole Hamels throwing a no-hitter at Wrigley Field over the Cubs for the Phillies, 5-0. Three 3-0 the count to Longoria.
And this is how you pitch yourself right into trouble. A 3-0 count, a runner in scoring position. Either Evan takes a walk or turns it loose here.
It's a ground ball to short. Hardy's throw to first. 2 gone.
You know, that's Evan Longoria wanting so badly to drive that run in. And on a 3-0 fastball that is borderline, you know, outside corner or off the plate. You can see how frustrated he is. He goes out, tries to pull that pitch, and ends up being a routine ground ball to short. See what this pitch is. Yeah, that ball's off the plate away. And you could see as soon as he made contact.
With a moment of decision, I mean, it's difficult. You get to a situation where maybe you're trying to create something.
We've seen that. We've seen that plague the Rays with guys that are looking. They want to do something to help this club, to get it over the hump, to be productive, and you try to do a little bit too much. You know, and that can be sometimes just as detrimental as not doing enough.
It's a strike. You know, we talked about the pitcher. We talked about it last night with Archer. The club's not scoring a lot of runs, so do you take that to the mound with you? And you try not to. Try to do what you do out there on the mound. The same thing in this case, it was Longoria, but hitters go through that when the club's not hitting. Liner into center. Jones is there to make the catch. Loney's out. The Rays leave J.So at second. We go to the seventh, 4-0 Baltimore. Goes out to begin the seventh inning. The Orioles scored all four in the third. As promised earlier in the game, we've selected the Data Strong fan photo of the game. Tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag SS Data Strong Fan for a chance to be featured in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. 1-2 punch, a lefty and a righty right there. J.J. Hardy is going to open the seventh inning. The pitch is a strike. Beckham from shortstop. Safe there as Loney had to come off the bag. And Hardy's aboard on Beckham's throwing error.
Well, that's where you get some of the extra outs. And Tim Beckham puts himself in fine shape to make this play, and then the throw sails, and James Loney cannot save him.
Hardy aboard for the second time tonight. 55th error of the year committed by the Rays. It's Travis Snyder. One ball, no strikes. Two and 0. There's a strike, 2-1. Good crowd here tonight. We've had a big walk up. That 4-run third has stymied the enthusiasm a little bit, but a good house.
Well, what are you going to do outside?
Yeah.
You know, you've got the
Great
concert tonight.
Right
Yeah.
here.
Same tomorrow, too.
Yep. So if you're thinking about or already making plans to be out tomorrow, you can buy your tickets in advance or come early if you don't want to stand in line. Kiermaier under this one makes the catch for the out. Box offices are going to open tomorrow at 9 a.m. So there'll be more time to accommodate the walk-up, or you could still buy your tickets in advance. It'll be the final game of this series against Baltimore. So it seems like a good idea. Again, box office will open at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Down to third. Longoria goes to second. Out there. Over to first. And Scope grounds into a 5-4-3 double play. Bottom of the seventh coming. 4-0. Half of the frame. It's Christmas in July. Santa making his way to Tropicana Field. Tomorrow, all kids 14 and under receive a surprise Christmas present while supplies last. For tickets, call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. And again, box office opens at 9 a.m. tomorrow if you're thinking about picking up tickets at the ballpark. Logan Forsythe opens the bottom of the seventh. He takes a strike.
And by the way, just to wrap up the Cole Hamels no-hitter.
Yes.
Wait till you see the play that was made to secure that no-hitter. Odubel Herrera.
Really?
In center field. Just about overran. Just wait till you see it.
Was that the final one?
The final out.
Because that's where I saw Bryant hit a fly ball to center.
Yeah, and he almost overran it, caught it late, and then turned and ended up making like a sprawling, not quite diving, but catch right on the warning track. I mean, it was, you wait till you see it.
Oh, my. Some palpitations going on.
Oh. In fact, it was funny because when Cole Hamels delivers the pitch, I think it was a full count curveball, and Chris Bryant hit it, you could see Cole Hamels' body language was immediately, I just blew it. And then his center fielder, who's already playing deep, goes back there, kind of gets twisted around and has to make a spectacular catch to preserve it.
Down to third, and Machado throws out Forsythe. It's going to bring up David DeJesus.
Number 7, David DeJesus.
Yeah, Rays had their issues with Herrera up there. He hurt the Rays with his bat.
That was the walk-off. What, 10, 11 pitches?
Yep.
And maybe don't watch it then.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that was a frustrating stop. That's fair off the bat of DeJesus. So 2 gone here in the 7th inning. For more on all of that, let's check in with Rich. What do you got, Rich?
Thanks, Dwayne B.A. I must admit, all of us here in the press box had one eye on the field watching Erasmo Ramirez, and the other eye was on Cole Hamels. 130 pitches, and here's his final one. And B.A., you talked about it. One of the more thrilling ways to end a no-hit bid. Odubel Herrera makes the sliding catch when no slide was needed, and he gets it. A couple of facts about this. This is the first no-hitter thrown at Wrigley Field since 1965, when none other than Sandy Koufax did it. And if this is indeed Cole Hamels' final start as a Philadelphia Philly, his name is bandied about before the trade deadline. He and Chuch Ruiz have started and caught more games together than any active major league pitcher-catcher combo, guys.
Well, a big night there for Cole Hamels throwing the no-hitter. And boy, you're right. What a way to end it out there by Herrera in center field.
Could you imagine? I mean, that close, because if that ball ends up hitting track, well, that's not going to go down as an error. That would be a hit. Yeah, let's just be happy that he caught it. Because he almost overruns it.
Take a look at this. So he goes back. Look at this.
Gets set. Oh no! Oh no! Right off of the track. Good luck scoring that one, buddy.
Yeah. High pop right side. Foul ball, and Flaherty's after it. Beckham's retired. The Rays are up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4-0 Baltimore. Tonight's game summary brought to you by Gold and Diamond Swords. And really all you need to do is go to the 3rd inning when Chris Davis hit the grand slam.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean.
And the pitchers, Ramirez out here to open the 8th inning. He's faced 27 hitters, 23 first pitch strikes. We've had no walks in this game. And here we go to the 8th with David Lowe leading off. Through 7 innings, 89 pitches for Ramirez. And there's a ball that gets by Loney up the right side. Extra bases. Lowe's going to go to 3rd. third, and the throw is wide. Gets away from Longoria, and he's going to circle the bases. Wow.
That's a great example of what we're talking about. No error on James Loney, but you know, with the way that he was positioned, and Kevin Cash wants to know if that ball was fair or not. James Loney's right on the line. That ball may be foul, unless they think that it hit the corner of the bag. You may want to take a look at this. But then the throw here by Forsythe throws a dart, and Evans trying to make that catch, spin and tag, and off his glove. So we'll see.
Well, the bad thing about this, it's not reviewable on that play by the bag.
Well, chalk, and yeah, you're right. That was chalk, and then if he says over the bag, it's over the bag. You saw the chalk get kicked up. That could have been chalk and foul territory. Well, yeah. You slow that down, and he's right on top of it.
So it's going to be a triple and an error charged to Forsythe on the throw. And it's 5-0. Chris Davis takes a pitch outside. One and one. Yeah, here's the thing about that. Obviously, it's a hit. But James Loney, it's a tough play. But Loney, his entire career has made tough plays like that at first.
It's exactly what we were talking about earlier. It's not going to be an error, but you're so spoiled by James Loney's defense. And when they have him positioned right over there on the first base line, you're just used to him making that play each and every time, as difficult as it may be. There's no doubt about it. Look where he's at right now, right there on the line. It's going to be one step and a backhand, and typically that's just something that he gets done.
Into center. That's going to be caught by Kiermaier for the out. Manny Machado's due, and that's going to be it for Erasmo Ramirez. And boy, Ramirez gave up the home run, the grand slam to Davis in the third, and this run here in the eighth. And a tough night for Ramirez. Ramirez out of this game now after 7 1/3 innings and 95 pitches, 5 runs, 7 hits. Didn't walk anybody, struck out 3. It's his longest outing in terms of innings. 7 1/3.
And really, he deserved a better fate. Erasmo Ramirez, that was the one mistake, the full count fastball. You know, bases are loaded. He's trying to make a pitch, and Chris Davis was able to connect. That would obviously be the bulk of the damage, and then he would go to work, continue to attack the strike zone, allowed his team opportunity to get back into the game. The Rays have not been able to get anything going offensively, and so he sits on the short end right now of a 5-0 ball game.
Steve Geltz, the new pitcher, and his first pitch is a strike to Machado. 46th appearance for Geltz. One of those nights he made 95 pitches. His single game high pitch count was 103 against Washington in 6 innings back on the 15th of June. 95 pitches in 7 1/3 tonight. Machado sends one into left center, but Kiermaier's there. 2 gone. If you had said Ramirez is going to make the start, he's going to face 29 hitters, he's going to get ahead of 24 of them, you'd say, okay, good, we'll take that. 24 first pitch strikes tonight. And he leaves down 5-0.
Yeah, this game can be frustrating at times, but you would have taken that every that's what he's been doing.
Yep.
And he's been as good as anybody in the league.
Fly ball. Jones lifts it to left, and Jesus makes the catch. Run. And that's it. 5-0 Baltimore. Have 2 shots left going in here in the bottom of the 8th. High def highlights presented by H.H. Gregg, and Gonzalez has been solid tonight.
Yeah, he's throwing the ball well against the Rays all season long. Tonight, no difference. He's moved the ball around the zone. We've seen the fastball both sides, up and down. The split's been good. The cutter's been on point. Really, not very many mistakes at all, and has cruised thus far.
Yeah, 94 pitches for him through 7. His high pitch count this year is 108 in 7 innings. That came against the Yankees back in April.
And he's only gone over 100 pitches 3 times, and the last time was the middle of May, about the time that Erasmo Ramirez came back into the rotation. So this is extended for him. All 3 of those came between opening day and May the 13th.
The Rays tonight with just 4 hits. Gonzalez's longest outing, 8 innings against the Rays almost 2 months ago, and that was in a no decision on May the 29th. High fly ball lifted back into right center, and just on the track, Snyder's over from right field to catch it. Kiermaier's the first out.
Catcher, number 19, Kurt Casale.
Now Kurt Casale Sally 0 for 2. One of 5 strikeouts recorded by Gonzalez. One and 0. One now.
That pitch right there is a snapshot of Miguel Gonzalez's outing. That fastball in on a right-hander, right on right, and boy, does he just dart spotted perfectly. Because Sally's swinging right over the top of it.
Two balls and a strike. Shot back into left. Low will go back, and that one's out of here. Third home run of the year for Casale. A 2-1 fastball. And the Rays are on the board.
Well, this is the one thing that Miguel Gonzalez hasn't done too many times. And that's left the pitch right out over the middle of the plate. 2-1. Very little movement on this fastball, and it's middle. Casale crushed it.
Now the Rays are on the board. That's the 18th home run given up by Gonzalez. The 11th solo home run, and that goes to no walks tonight, 32 on the year.
And he's going to give up home runs by virtue of the stuff compared to the fact that he's typically around the zone. But boy, if you can keep the majority of them to solo shots, you can live with that.
Chad Rowe up in the bullpen. Dave Wallace out, the pitching coach, spending some time with Gonzalez. And Casale with his 3rd home run of the year. Foul just outside of third off the bat of Steven Souza Jr. Two. It's 5-1 here. Twins lead the Yankees 5-1. That game's in the middle of the 4th in Minnesota. And the Tigers beat Boston tonight 5-1 at Fenway. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Toronto beat Seattle 8-6, and the big story, Cole Hamels with a no-hitter in Chicago over the Cubs at Wrigley, and the Phillies won that game 5-0. 2-2. It occurred to us Herrera made that catch, as difficult as it turned out to be for him, but he's the guy who's the converted infielder who's gone to the outfield full time. Souza fouls it out of play.
Makes sense now.
A little bigger territory out there in center field.
Just a hair. Just a hair. Bottom line is, though, he did finish. Made the play.
Still 2-2 on Souza Jr. John Jaso on deck. Third base. Machado with the scoop and the throw. And Souza's just out at first. So 2 gone, and here comes Buck Showalter with John Jaso due up. 107 pitches here for Gonzalez. We'll be back in a moment. To you by Hattrick's Tavern, who is proud to introduce Hattrick's Catering. And by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Rays and the Orioles at the bottom of the 8th inning. Chaz Rowe is the new pitcher. Miguel Gonzalez, after 7 2/3, gives way to the Baltimore bullpen. Jaso doubled in the 6th inning, his 5th double of the year. Well, making his 23rd appearance. Ball, 1 strike. Rays got on the board on the Casale home run. That's Brandon Gomes busy in the bullpen for the Rays. Two and two. Chaz Rowe out of Lexington, Kentucky. Up the right side, hooking foul. Rowe, just 3 years ago, was pitching in the Independent League, the Independent American Association. Here's a right-hander who truly does come from Laredo. He pitched for the Laredo Lemurs in 2012. A little too close to over the top, though, to really be from Laredo, isn't he?
Just a touch. And we've seen, I'll tell you what, you've seen a pretty lively fastball, 92, 93 with some good sink.
That's a fair ball back at first. Flaherty makes the play. Rays get on the board. Kurt Casale connecting with the fastball for his third home run of the year, and it's 5-1 at the end of 8. Season active duty and retired or honorably discharged veterans can get a Rays Honor Pass entitling them to 2 free tickets to any Rays regular season home game. So visit RaysBaseball.com/Honor Pass for more information. Brandon Gomes out to work the 9th inning. Ramirez for 7 1/3, Geltz 2/3, and now it will be Gomes to face Matt Wieters. No ball, no strikes. Wieters 0 for 3. A couple of ground balls handled by Beckham at short. Beckham on the first base side of second with Wieters up there again. It's 1-1. Forsythe from short right. One gone.
Unless there's some crazy drama here for the Rays in the bottom of the 9th inning, that sets up an interesting matchup tomorrow for what could be, the series victory. Both of these teams needing one badly. They come into this series, not playing very good baseball. Rays won last night. Baltimore, if they can get 3 more outs, looks like they could win tonight's ball game, and then tomorrow you got a couple lefties that are going to go head to head.
Ron Flaherty deep to the opposite field, and DeJesus stays with it to make the catch right out there in left center. Well, Flaherty hit that ball a long way to the opposite field. Hit it to our favorite sign out there.
Right. Well, Ryan Flaherty, when you look at him, by no means a big muscle-bound power hitter, but he is tall, lanky, and you put a good swing on a baseball, you're able to create some leverage. It's not quite enough.
J.J. Hardy has been on twice with a single and an error. The Rays have been charged with 2 errors tonight. One and one. The Rays were charged with an error in the first game of this series. 3 in the Wednesday game in Philadelphia. An error in the game Tuesday. 2 errors in the game Monday.
I mean, do the math and start adding that up. Those are mistakes that this team just does not make. And think about some of the plays that weren't made that didn't go down as errors. Those are just the tangible, in-the-book errors. Been a number of other plays that are typically made that have not been.
Here's Hardy sending one back into left, and Jesus will take care of that one. Bottom of the ninth coming. Longoria, Loney, and Forsythe do.
To the bottom of the ninth with the O's leading 5-1. Regardless of the outcome, make sure you stick with us. Rays Live, the postgame coming up, presented by Checkers. Orestes and I getting ready. We will talk about the day's pitching matchup. Erasmo Ramirez pitched well despite giving up that grand slam. We'll go pitch by pitch. There's my man. Orestes already hard at work preparing to give you the best post-game experience you could possibly have. Emily Austin will be in the clubhouse. We'll hear from Kevin Cash and assorted other Rays. Make sure you tune in. The post-game show following this contest, guys.
Evan Longoria has fouled the first pitch out of play. Bottom of the ninth underway as the Rays face Chaz Rowe. He got the final out in the eighth. Evan doubled back in the first inning, 1 for 3. Lifts it into right. Snyder backs up, waits, and makes the catch. One gone.
First baseman, number 21, James Loney.
7 2/3 for Gonzalez before giving way to Rowe. Here's James Loney. Loney's hit came in the fourth inning. It's 1-1. Two balls and a strike. Two balls, two strikes. Chop right side. That's from short right field. And Scope throws out Loney.
Well, Jonathan Scope playing awfully deep in that shift. And the deeper a second baseman will go, the more range that he will have. You're not quite as worried about the foot speed of the hitter. But even there, he had to charge that ball. There was a second there that looked like J.J. Hardy was going to take that ground ball, but Scope handles it, and Orioles 1 out away.
So Logan Forsythe takes the pitch, and that's a strike. And the shift on again. Logan 0 for 3 tonight. Oh, 2. Off the plate. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
That's pretty good work there by Chaz Rowe. He goes to town on that right hand, and then that ball's dirty. Goodness gracious.
The count is now even, 2-2.
Here we go. Oh, that's short. Oh, breaking ball. 4's the heater. 2 is off speed.
There you go. What a way to tip pitches.
See? Yep.
You got it.
Yep, that's it. That's it. If he goes 4 licks, it's going to be heater. 2 licks is off speed. It's just following. Okay, heater. Here comes the heater. Multiple right. Here it comes. Sit on it. Oh, maybe not.
Cross him up
a little bit. That was a heater.
It was. It's strike 3 call. This game is over. 1, 2, 3 go the Rays in the bottom of the 9th inning. Brian Anderson right one last time.